Admiral Kira Puddle stood at the bridge of the ESS Endeavour, watching the crystalline ships of the Zenith Empire glitter against the backdrop of deep space. Her dark eyes narrowed as she studied their formation. Beautiful, perfect, and utterly alien. "They're not responding to any of our hails, Admiral," Communications Officer James O'Connor reported, his Irish lilt tinged with concern. "They've been silent for the past 30 minutes. Kira nodded slowly, her silver-streaked black hair catching the soft blue light of the bridge's holographic displays. 20 years of space exploration had taught her that silence was rarely golden, especially when dealing with first contact scenarios. The Zenith ships had appeared 3 days ago, their crystalline vessels emerging from what appeared to be tears in space itself. Their technology was clearly centuries ahead of humanity's best achievements, but that hadn't stopped the Endeavour from attempting peaceful contact. "Dr. Wren," Kira called to her xenolinguist, "any progress on decoding their initial transmission?" Dr. Hikaru Wren, a brilliant linguist with a perpetual look of fascination on his face, shook his head. "Their language structure is unlike anything we've encountered, Admiral. But there's something mathematical about it. Lieutenant Zhang is helping me analyze the patterns." Lieutenant Mai Zhang, the ship's eye specialist, was already pulling up complex mathematical models on her holographic display. Her augmented eyes flickered with data as she processed the information. The sequences suggest a base 16 mathematical language, but there's something else, something we're missing. The tension on the bridge ratcheted up as one of the crystalline ships began to move. Its movement was elegant, like a dancer performing a carefully choreographed routine. But there was something predatory about it too. Energy spike. Tactical Officer Victor Petrov's voice cut through the silence. "There." The rest of his warning was lost as reality itself seemed to bend around the Zenith ship. A beam of pure white light lanced out, cutting through space like a surgeon's scalpel. It missed the Endeavour by mere kilometers, but the message was clear. "All hands to battle stations," Kira commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Launch our diplomatic buoy. Let's make sure everyone knows who fired first." As klaxons blared throughout the ship, Kira watched the Zenith vessels begin their elaborate battle dance. Their formations were perfect, their movements synchronized with mathematical precision. They were beautiful, efficient, and utterly predictable. A slight smile played across Kira's lips. The Zenith clearly expected humanity to follow their perfect mathematical patterns of warfare. They were about to learn their first lesson about human beings. "We don't play by anyone's rules but our own. Mr. O'Connor, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them First Contact Protocol 7 has been initiated." She paused, then added, "and informed them that the Endeavour is implementing the Thermopylae Gambit." The bridge crew exchanged knowing looks. The Thermopylae Gambit was considered either brilliant or suicidal, depending on who you asked. It was exactly the kind of human unpredictability that drove other species mad. "Helm, plot a course directly through their formation," Kira ordered. "Engineering, prepare to vent our plasma cores on my mark. And someone wake up Dr. Patel in xenobiology. Tell him his theory about crystalline beings and thermal shock is about to be tested." As her crew rushed to comply, Kira watched the Zenith ships continue their elegant dance of death. They were about to learn why humanity had survived countless extinction-level events on Earth, why we had thrived in the harshest conditions and emerged stronger. The Zenith Empire had made a crucial mistake. They had assumed that humanity's inferior technology meant we were inferior warriors. They were about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our technology. It was our creativity, our adaptability, and our absolute refusal to give up. "All hands." Kira broadcast throughout the ship. "This is the Admiral speaking. In about 5 minutes, we're either going to make history or become it. Either way, let's show these crystals what humanity is made of." The Endeavour's engines roared to life, and humanity's first interstellar war began, not with diplomacy, not with honor, but with a crazy plan that no logical species would ever consider. It was, in other words, a perfectly human response. And as the Endeavour charged toward the geometrically perfect formation of Zenith ships, Kira allowed herself a small chuckle. The Zenith were about to learn why humans were the most feared warriors in any reality. We didn't just think outside the box. We burned the box and used its ashes to write our victory songs. The Thermopylae gambit worked better than anyone could have expected. The Zenith ships, their crystalline hulls gleaming with deadly beauty, had never encountered a species willing to deliberately vent plasma cores as a weapon. The resulting thermal shock had shattered 3 of their smaller vessels and forced their perfect formation into chaos. But Admiral Kira Paddle knew better than to celebrate too early. The Endeavour had suffered significant damage during the maneuver, and the remaining Zenith ships were regrouping with mechanical precision. "Damage report," she commanded, brushing debris from her console. Lieutenant Zheng's augmented eyes flickered as she processed the data. "Hull integrity at 64%. We've lost the starboard sensor array and 2 weapon batteries. But, sir," a rare smile crossed her face, "the data we collected about their reaction to thermal stress is extraordinary." "Send it to all Earth vessels," Kira ordered, "and get me a secure channel to Admiral Yoshida." The holographic display crackled to life, showing the weathered face of humanity's highest-ranking Space Force commander. Admiral Yoshida's expression was grim, but his eyes sparkled with interest. "Interesting opening move, Patel," he said without preamble. "The Council's divided on whether to call you brilliant or insane. With respect, sir, humanity's greatest achievements usually walk that line." Kira's fingers danced across her console, sending her tactical analysis. The Zenith aren't just technologically advanced, they're perfectly logical, and that's their weakness. Dr. Wren spoke up from his station, where he was still analyzing Zenith communications. "Their language structure confirms it, Admiral. Every pattern, every response follows mathematical rules. They literally cannot comprehend illogical actions." The implications hung in the air like smoke. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to be illogical, to make choices that defied rational analysis. Throughout human history, battles have been won not by the side with superior technology or numbers, but by the side willing to try the impossible. "The Council's authorized full military response," Yoshida announced. "The Fourth Fleet is already mobilizing. But Patel," he leaned closer to the camera, "we need you to buy us time. Keep them focused on the Endeavour while we prepare our counterattack." Kira nodded, her mind already racing through possibilities that would make any logical species cringe. "Lieutenant Zheng, do we still have those experimental quantum mines? The ones that failed every safety test?" Zheng's augmented eyes widened. "Yes, but they're highly unstable. Using them would be perfect." Kira's smile was fierce. "And the maintenance drones? How many can we retrofit with the damaged sensor array components?" Viktor Petrov caught on first, his tactical experience translating her crazy idea into battlefield reality. "We could create a false sensor echo, make our one ship look like a fleet." "Better," Kira corrected. "We're going to make our one ship disappear completely." "Dr. Wren, what's the Zenith word for ghost?" The xenolinguist blinked in surprise. "They don't have one. Their language has no concept of supernatural phenomena. Everything must be explainable by their mathematical models." "Then let's give them something their models can't explain." Kira turned to her crew, seeing the same mix of fear and excitement in their eyes that she felt in her heart. "We're going to show them why humans still tell ghost stories in an age of interstellar travel." The next 6 hours were a symphony of controlled chaos. The Endeavour's maintenance drones, reprogrammed with Zhang's expertise, created a web of false sensor readings that made the ship seem to be in multiple places simultaneously. The unstable quantum mines, never meant to be used in actual combat, were modified to create temporary tiers in spacetime itself. The Zenith response was everything Kira had hoped for. Their perfect formations became erratic as they tried to target a ship that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Their communications, which Dr. Wren continued to monitor, showed increasing signs of distress as they attempted to explain the inexplicable. "They're trying to model our behavior," Wren reported, excitement creeping into his usually calm voice. "But they can't. Every time they create a mathematical model to predict our actions, we do something that completely contradicts it." The Endeavour danced through space like a ghost, appearing and disappearing, leaving behind quantum distortions that made their superior sensors worse than useless. When they fired their elegant energy weapons, they hit only echoes and shadows. "Message from the flagship," James O'Connor announced, his Irish lilt carrying a note of amusement. "They're demanding we cease our violation of physical laws." A laugh rippled through the bridge crew. It was so perfectly alien. The idea that they could demand reality conform to their understanding of it. But Kira's celebration was cut short as new alarms blared. The Zenith had adapted, not by becoming more creative, but by becoming more rigid. They were preparing to fire their primary weapons, planet killer-class energy beams that would destroy the Endeavour regardless of its tricks. "All hands," Kira broadcast, her voice steady despite the odds. "Prepare for emergency maneuver Delta 7. The crew's response was immediate, though everyone knew Delta 7 was theoretical, never tested, and probably suicide. But that was humanity's secret weapon. The willingness to try the impossible, to take risks that no logical species would ever consider. As the Zenith weapons powered up, Kira watched her crew work with fierce pride. They weren't just fighting for survival now. They were fighting to prove that humanity's greatest strength was its beautiful, terrible irrationality. The Endeavour's engines howled as they prepared for a maneuver that violated several laws of physics. The quantum mines were primed to create a disruption that their engineers swore was theoretically impossible. And as the Zenith ships prepared to fire, Kira Patel smiled, because she knew something they didn't. In humanity's long history, impossible had never meant won't try anyway. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its technology or its strategies. It was the simple, terrifying truth that humans would rather die trying something impossible than survive by following the rules. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? This part has established humanity's unconventional warfare tactics while building tension for the upcoming major conflict and romantic subplot. Delta 7 worked, though not in any way the simulations had predicted. When the Endeavour engaged its modified quantum drive, while simultaneously detonating the quantum mines, it didn't just evade the Zenith's planet killer beams. It created a localized bubble of chaotic space-time that sent ripples through both fleets. In the aftermath of the maneuver, as reality stabilized around them, a single Zenith ship broke formation. Its movements were different from the others, less rigid, more curious. "Admiral," Dr. Wren called out, his voice tight with excitement, "we're receiving a transmission from the divergent vessel. It's different from the others, more complex." Before Kira could respond, the holographic display came to life. The bridge crew fell silent as they got their first look at a Zenith being. The alien was breathtaking. A humanoid form composed of living crystal, with patterns of light flowing through its transparent body like blood through veins. But what caught Kira's attention were its eyes, multifaceted like diamonds, yet somehow conveying emotion she hadn't expected from such a logical species. "I am First Scholar Luminara." The being spoke, its voice creating harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "You have broken our understanding. We request dialogue." Kira exchanged glances with her crew before stepping forward. "This is Admiral Kira Patel of the Earth ship Endeavour. We've been attempting dialogue since first contact." The collective rejected dialogue as inefficient. Luminara responded, "But your actions, they defy our models. You achieve victory through mathematical impossibilities." "How?" Dr. Wren was frantically taking notes, but Kira noticed something in Luminara's voice, not just curiosity, but something like longing. Perhaps, Kira suggested, we could discuss this in person. Your ship's quantum signature suggests it can dock with ours, despite our different technologies. The crystalline being's internal lights flickered in what might have been surprise. The collective forbids direct contact. It is unsafe. Everything worthwhile is unsafe, Kira responded. That's another human trait you might find interesting. What followed was the most unorthodox diplomatic meeting in human history. As the two ships merged their atmospheric bubbles through a hastily created docking corridor, Kira found herself face to face with a being that challenged everything she thought she knew about the Zenith. Luminara moved like liquid light, each gesture creating rainbow refractions through the ship's corridors. The scholar's fascination with human illogic was matched only by Kira's growing realization that not all Zenith were as rigid as they appeared. Your species embraces chaos, Luminara observed as they walked through the Endeavor. You find patterns in randomness, strength in disorder. The collective cannot comprehend this. And what do you comprehend? Kira asked, noting how the alien's crystalline form seemed to pulse in response to her words. I comprehend. Beauty, Luminara responded, causing several nearby crew members to stop and stare. In your impossible maneuvers, in your willingness to risk everything on untested theories, there is a pattern there, but not one that can be reduced to mathematics. As they toured the ship, something extraordinary began to happen. Luminara's perfect crystalline form began to exhibit tiny fractal patterns that Dr. Wren excitedly identified as signs of individual expression, something supposedly impossible in Zenith physiology. The scholar was changing, being influenced by mere hours of exposure to human unpredictability. And Kira found herself equally fascinated by Luminara's perspective, the way the alien could perceive patterns in chaos that human eyes couldn't see. Your people fight like artists, Luminara observed in the ship's observation deck, watching distant battles between human and Zenith forces. Each maneuver unique, each strategy a new creation. The collective sees this as weakness, the inability to achieve perfection. But I see. What do you see? Kira asked softly, watching light play through Luminara's crystalline form. Poetry, the alien responded. Your species has turned warfare into poetry, into art. The collective cannot comprehend art. We stopped creating it millennia ago, when we determined it served no logical purpose. But before their conversation could go further, alarms blared throughout both ships. The main Zenith fleet had detected Luminara's contamination and was moving to sterilize both vessels. They will destroy us both, Luminara stated, internal lights flickering with what Kira now recognized as emotion. The collective cannot allow the spread of illogical behavior. Kira's response was pure human instinct. Then we'll have to show them that illogical behavior is the only way to survive. Lieutenant Jung. Yes, Admiral. How quickly can you transfer our quantum manipulation protocols to Luminara's ship? Jung's augmented eyes flickered as she processed the request. The systems are completely different, but if Scholar Luminara helps, maybe an hour. You have 15 minutes, Kira ordered, then turned to Luminara. Your ship's crystalline structure. It resonates with quantum frequencies, doesn't it? Luminara's form shimmered with understanding. You want to? No, that would be impossible. Beautiful, but impossible. Welcome to humanity, Kira smiled. Impossible is our specialty. As the two worked frantically to merge their technologies, Kira realized they were creating something unprecedented, a hybrid of human chaos and Zenith precision. And in Luminara's increasingly expressive movements, she saw something else developing, a bridge between their species that went beyond mere military alliance. The question was whether they could survive long enough to show the rest of the Zenith that there was strength in beauty, power in art, and that sometimes the most logical choice was to embrace the illogical. The approaching Zenith fleet would give them their answer in less than 15 minutes. Would you like me to continue with Part 4? This section has developed the growing connection between human and alien perspectives while setting up the climactic battle to come. The 15 minutes changed everything. With Luminara's knowledge of zenith crystalline technology and humanity's mastery of controlled chaos, they created something unprecedented. A quantum resonance field that turned both ships into what Dr. Wren poetically called a duet of impossible physics. The collective approaches, Luminara announced, their crystalline form now swimming with complex patterns never before seen in a zenith being. They will not understand. They cannot understand. Then we'll make them understand, Kira replied, watching the massive zenith fleet bear down on them. Lieutenant Zhang, activate the resonance field. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The quantum harmonics from Luminara's ship amplified through the Endeavor's jury-rigged systems, creating waves of energy that rippled through space itself. The crystalline hulls of the approaching zenith ships began to sing, literally sing, as the quantum frequencies forced them to resonate. They're trying to adapt, Victor reported from Tactical. But their mathematical models can't account for the harmony we're creating. It's like we're forcing them to listen to music they've forgotten how to hear. The collective's response was devastating. Unable to process the merged technology of human chaos and zenith precision, they launched an all-out assault. Space itself seemed to warp under the barrage of their advanced weapons. But something extraordinary was happening. Each hit on their combined quantum field created new harmonics, new patterns. The very attack meant to destroy them was being transformed into art. Now, Kira commanded, initiate Protocol Orpheus. Named after the mythical musician who charmed the underworld, Protocol Orpheus was the riskiest part of their desperate plan. They weren't just trying to survive. They were trying to awaken something the zenith had buried millennia ago. The quantum harmonics shifted, carrying within them fragments of human music, art, and poetry, translated into crystalline frequencies that spoke directly to the core of zenith biology. Each wave carried not just energy, but emotion, creativity, and the beautiful chaos of human expression. One by one, zenith ships began to break formation. Their perfect geometric patterns faltered as ancient subroutines, buried deep in their crystalline structures, began to reawaken. The part of them that had once created art, that had once understood beauty, stirred from its logical slumber. It's working, Luminara whispered, their form blazing with internal light. They're remembering. The battle became a symphony of chaos and order, destruction and creation. The Endeavor and Luminara's ship danced through the firefight, their combined technology turning each attack into another note in their universe-shaking concert. And in the heart of the collective fleet, something began to change. The change rippled through the zenith fleet like a wave of awakening. Ships began moving in new patterns, not the rigid formations of before, but flowing, creative movements that merged mathematics with artistry. The collective was remembering what it had sacrificed in its pursuit of perfect logic. Multiple ships are broadcasting, James O'Connor reported, his voice filled with wonder. They're creating new frequencies, new patterns. It's like they're learning to sing. Kira looked at Luminara, seeing in the scholar's crystalline form a reflection of the transformation sweeping through their species. This was what you were looking for, wasn't it? Not just understanding humans, but remembering what the zenith once were. We thought we had achieved perfection through pure logic. Luminara responded, their voice creating harmonics that made the air shimmer. But we had only achieved stagnation. Your species reminded us that true perfection includes imperfection. The battle ended not with surrender or victory, but with understanding. The Zenith Collective, awakened to its forgotten artistic nature, discovered that humanity's illogical approach to warfare had given them something far more valuable than military victory. It had given them back their soul. In the months that followed, the galaxy watched in amazement as humanity and the Zenith forged a new kind of alliance. The Zenith brought their advanced technology and mathematical precision, while humanity brought their creativity, their art, and their beautiful chaos. Together, they created wonders. Ships that danced through space like living sculptures, weapons that turned conflict into art, technologies that merged the mathematical precision of crystal with the wild inspiration of human dreams. But perhaps the most profound change was in how other species came to view humanity. They were no longer seen as just unpredictable warriors or chaos-embracing fighters. They were recognized as something far more powerful. Teachers who could awaken the dormant creativity in even the most logical species. Admiral Kira Puttle stood on the bridge of the Endeavour, watching Earth's first joint fleet exercise with their new Zenith allies. Beside her, Luminara's crystalline form shimmered with complex patterns that would have been considered heretical by the old collective. "The other species are afraid," Luminara observed, "not of our weapons or our technology, but of what happens when humans share their chaos." Kira smiled, watching as human and Zenith ships performed maneuvers that were part battle drill, part dance. They should be. Art is the most powerful force in the universe. It can change hearts, awaken souls, and transform entire civilizations. And that, Luminara agreed, their form creating a rainbow of refractions, is why humans are the most feared warriors in the galaxy. Not because you can destroy worlds, but because you can change them. As the combined fleet moved through their exercises, their movements created patterns of light and energy that could be seen from planets away. It was more than a display of military might. It was a performance, a declaration that the future would be forged not by logic alone, but by the beautiful chaos of creation. And in that performance was a message to the galaxy. Beware the species that turns warfare into art, for they can do more than conquer. They can inspire. The end.